I want to welcome you back to the D-Lo Show. I am your host, Ryan. D-Lo Delosier. So over the last few episodes, we have been looking at some of the cases that go along with Operation Net Nanny, the 2019 sting that happened here in Yakima that changed the conversation about safety in our valley. So I brought up the case, the most recent one, which went to trial and got a conviction, the case of Fred Thompson. And then I brought up another case of Hayden Erlinson. But today I want to focus on a man who was the first to face a jury, and that's Veniamin Nikolai Gaidaichuk. And we're just going to call him Ben. It's like Veniamin, but we'll call him Ben. So Gaidaichuk he is an Everett man as we go through this. And he didn't just stumble into a trap. Okay. He walked into it twice. So what makes him unique among the 16 men arrested was his persistence that he went along with. Say, he first reached out to an undercover detective who was posing as a 13-year-old girl, and he did this on July of 2019. And it was during a sting that was happening in Kitsap County. So not Yakima County. This was happening July 19th in Kitsap County. And then that operation shut down before the meeting could have happened between him and the detective posing as a 13-year-old. And so he didn't take the hint, though, okay? Ben didn't take the hint. He kept hunting for the same girl for 4 months until he found her again in Yakima. And then the affidavit of probable cause for the Yakima County court case, it's number 19Y024-930. It paints a chilling picture of his intent. So on November 15th, remember when this first happened, he first was contacting this detective posing as a 13-year-old girl in July 2019. He started contacting the same detective again on November 15th of 2019. And so Gaidaichuk, using the name Ben, which I have a feeling it's just like a shortened name, an easier way to say Veniamin, we say Ben. He reconnected with the profile he thought was a 13-year-old from Kitsap. So during a recorded phone call, the undercover officer expressed fear about getting pregnant. And so Gaidaichuk's response was this. He told her neither would be an issue. So, and that he wanted her to have a good time. So the text thread occurred for over the next 48 hours, and it shows a man committed to the drive. He complimented her appearance repeatedly and confirmed that he was driving from Everett to Yakima specifically to see her. That's right. He drove over 2 mountain passes. One of them, you got to drive over Snoqualmie, which could be pretty rough. I mean, not that time of year. We're talking, in November, it could be rough. I'll have to look and see what the weather was at that time. But he drove over that one, and then he took the 2-hour journey with one goal. On the evening of November 17th, he just texted, "I'm here." And he arrived at the house in Yakima and was immediately swarmed by the task force. And here's the detail that clinches the intent. Remember when he said pregnancy wouldn't be an issue? Yeah, remember when he said that? Well, police found a box of condoms in the backseat of his car. He didn't come to rescue anyone. He came prepared. So in court, Gaidaichuk tried a defense we've heard before. He claimed he didn't actually believe the girl was 13. The jury didn't buy it for a second. In September 2023, he was convicted of attempted second-degree child rape and communicating with a minor for immoral purposes. His sentence was significant, an indeterminate term of 7 years to life. This means he is eligible for a board review after 7 years, but the state has the power to keep him for life if he remains a threat. This stands in stark contrast to someone like former Zilla Mayor Gary Clark, who had real victims, yet he served only 6 months. But as we are about to see, Gaidaichuk's legal team is fighting to make sure that his life sentence never sticks. So Gaidaichuk's attorney, Charles Dold, has taken this case all the way to the Washington Supreme Court. The argument is a dangerous one for law enforcement. It's inducement. The defense argues that the police used sophisticated psychological tactics to push Gaidaichuk into a crime he might not have committed on his own. This legal battle is the fuel behind Senate Bill 5312, which I have mentioned in previous episodes. Senators from Seattle, Federal Way, and Bellevue are pushing a law that would eliminate lifetime supervision for sting cases like this. They argue that because there was no real child, you remember, Ben showed up at the house. He'd been texting with what he thought was a 13-year-old that he pursued this person in July of 2019. And then he pursued the person again in November, like went for 4 months trying to find this person after this thing had ended in the Kitsap area and then it came over to Yakima. Yeah, he continued his push on that. This same guy is the one this persistent guy is the one that we want to give him a break because he probably wouldn't do this again, as persistent as he is. That's what this bill is implying. Anyways, if you look at Gaidaichuk's persistence from July to November, you have to ask, if the police hadn't been on the other end of that phone, who would have been? So whether it's the condoms in the backseat of an Everett man's car or Comfort and Joy ad answered by Fred, 74-year-old Fred in Union Gap, the intent is the evidence. Okay, the intent, the stuff you bring with you. And as the Supreme Court weighs the Gaidaichuk appeal, the safety of our neighborhoods hangs in the balance. Is a predator only dangerous if he succeeds, or is the will to do harm enough to justify a lifetime of watching? I do cover this in previous stuff, so I'm Ryan Delozier. I want you to keep your eyes open, Yakima. We'll be back next week, and I want to cover some different files as well, too. So there's a lot of other people that we're taking a look at here as well. Then just remember this particular individual as we kind of go back and just recap this. Gaidaichuk, remember, he drove from Everett to Yakima to meet a 13-year-old. Okay, he came here. Of course, fortunately, that 13-year-old just happened to be an undercover detective. And he found the SWAT team when he showed up. And his case is currently, like I had mentioned, in the Supreme Court. And there's also a new bill that is related to this as well. So it could give victims like these 16 that we have here in the Yakima sting and 311 statewide, it could make it so that they don't have to register and have this lifetime oversight, which, the state says is expensive to keep these predators in there. I mean, they didn't even hurt anybody. Yeah, well, do you have to hurt somebody? I guess that's kind of the question too. Do you have to actually have hurt somebody, or the intent that was there, even though it didn't happen? I mean, I mentioned earlier in one of my previous podcasts that if you go to a bank and you go to rob it, or if you go to grab a gas station or anything like that, and you break in there and they pop the till open and there's no money in it, so you can't steal any, you still went there to commit robbery. Like, just because there's no money there doesn't mean that you're not guilty of robbery. Okay, same thing. If you go to a house with stuff that the tools necessary to be able to do what you wanted to do right there, and yet it's instead of a 13-year-old there, it is the SWAT team who's not going to let you do that to them, then yeah, is it still the same? Good question. So you can think about that. You can process it. Let those senators know in your area that, and let your own senator know that we would, how you feel about that Senate bill. Thank you once again for listening to The Delo Show. If you like it, go ahead and like, subscribe, follow, do all of those things that keep this podcast showing up in your feed. I hope you're enjoying it. I am enjoying researching this, going down these rabbit holes and finding this new information. This is one I know I mentioned before, but I'll say it again. I really enjoyed back in the day the To Catch a Predator series. It was very cool. It's very similar to this as well, except these ones, there is a way higher conviction rate on these right here. These are not done by NBC and it's not necessarily for the news or for television to make a great, outstanding show. This is to put people like Gaidaichuk and like Fred Thompson and like Hayden Erlander and the other 13 others from Yakima, is to put them behind bars because they are pedophiles. They are the ones. There's 311 of them that were caught in Yakima, and I'd like to put all of them behind bars as well too. And the longer we can keep them in there, the better, I believe. I don't know about rehabilitation. Maybe there's some options for this, but in the meantime, until we can figure that out, these people cannot be out harming our children. They are a threat to them. And obviously, a guy like Gaidaichuk, he will be persistent. He will push his way to find it, and he will pursue a 13-year-old for 4 months. So it makes you wonder if I hope that no one was caught in between, that there were no other victims. But out of these 311 that were caught, the 16 in Yakima, yeah, I just hope there was no other victims. So if you like listening to this stuff, once again, like, subscribe, follow, and I will keep cranking it out. Have a great day.